Oh my goodness, it may end up actually being okay.
Did we do it?
I did it! Seamless
Yay!
transition.
This
We
is
didn't even
totally
know
the first time we've gone live tonight. This is not at all the second time that we did it. I,
it.
we swear, promise.
We swear and we pro.
Oh,
um,
I just give it away?
so guys, for those of you that are watching the YouTube video, oh shoot, now it's really freaking out. For those of you that are watching the YouTube video or are sitting in the chat, just so you are aware, I'm having a little bit of internet issue, but we've concluded that audio is still working fine. So we're just not going to do a whole lot of video. I mean, per the norm. Hopefully the audio will turn out well. If it does not turn out okay, we'll just redo it. And if you are sitting in the chat right now and you can tell us if anything goes wrong, please let us know so that we can fix it, because things are looking choppy on my end, but it's not supposed to affect the audio whatsoever. So that's what's going on.
Yes. Hopefully this is working out.
Hopefully it will translate to be okay. So last week we talked about supplementary content for League of Legends. Of course, like we always say, every single episode, we recommend you guys go look at that episode if you're looking for more details on it. But just so you guys know, we told you about some good websites, Surrender at 20, the importance of reading patch notes, and all that good stuff. So again, go view that and enjoy it, because supplementary content is a big important factor in getting good at this game and learning the game on a more in-depth level. You have anything to add to that on that end?
Yeah, sorry about that. Just had to mute my mic for a minute. Yep. Like we mentioned, the more research you can do, even outside the game, the better off you'll be. It'll give you a leg up on the competition. So if you put the time in, it'll pay off in the end.
Yeah, definitely. It will pay off. I mean, I talk and think about League all the time. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the best player, but I definitely know this game. I like to think that I know the ins and outs of this game pretty effectively. So, I mean, you'll get there with time and enough practice. You'll get there.
I've actually been doing a fair amount of that myself because I've decided to try picking up a collie. So I've been reading guides and watching videos and playing bot games. So yeah, like it's it doesn't matter how long you've been playing. Not that I've been playing this game like for years and years, but even like to the point where I've gotten now, I still find reading guides on champs that I'm not real clear on is super helpful.
Yeah, it is. All right, so looking at the champ rotation, we got Draven, we got Karma, Lee Sin, Morgana, Rumble, Singed, Syndra, Varus, Vi, and Xerath. Did I miss anyone? I don't think
Nope.
I missed anyone. Okay, so first and foremost, let's get the cat out of the bag. Don't play Draven.
He's tough.
Yeah, don't touch Draven.
He's fun, but he's tough.
You will not enjoy it. I don't think he's that fun either. I mean, he's cool, but he's
Uh,
tough. He's
Once I
hard.
got used to catching his axes and being like getting a little better at that, I enjoy him because he just does an obscene amount of damage once he gets fed. Like ridiculous crits, crits on crits on crits.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mechanically, he's probably one of the more complicated champs in the game. So avoid him. Play Varus. Varus is a ton of fun, and he's way
Yeah.
easier to pick up.
He's awesome. One of my favorite AD carries.
Yep.
He's pretty strong too. Also avoid Syndra.
Yes.
Yeah, stay away from her. I would say avoid Xerath just because he's another one of those tougher champions. But I mean, I've seen a lot of new players have success with him. Maybe it's just because his animations are really clear. His skill shots are, I mean, they're not super like intense or hard to land, but they pose a significant challenge when it comes to learning skill shots. His ult
Yeah,
is the only thing that I feel finicky about advertising.
that's the tough one. Like his Q is about as easy to land as Varys's is. His other two skill shots, I think his W, the big shockwave, that's got a pretty wide area of effect
Yeah.
on it. Yeah, it's just his ult is kind of tricky. But aside from that, yeah, I like Xerath, but yeah, you may want to avoid him. And I totally agree about Syndra. I
Yeah.
would even go as too far as to say avoid her as an opponent. She, as a Ziggs player, gives me nightmares. I don't like facing off against a Syndra.
She's a tough one. She's just generally a tough champ to play. She's up there
Yep.
mechanically in one of the more hard in the hardest category of champions to play. And
Yeah, and
don't
you want to talk about tricky ults, avoid
yeah.
Rumble too.
Don't yeah, oh yeah, Rumble's another one of those tricky ones. But I mean, on the Syndra and on the Draven aspect, there are several champions that are up there ranking hardest to play. This is not a challenge, okay? It's not I'm gonna look at this and be like, oh, I can play that because I'm a man and I'll learn to play these champions. No, 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 no. If you're playing bots games, then fine, you're good. You go to town and try and learn those champions. I hope you're interested in them because it's going to take a lot of work. But that is not a
Yeah,
champion that you just pick up in normals and go like, oh, I'm just going to screw over my entire team by feeding because I can't play this champion.
yeah.
Like it says hard for a reason. Don't be that teammate that picks up a champion and picks up one of the hardest champions and tries to go man mode and learn how to play them right then and there because it will not work. I promise.
But they played Rumble at Worlds, so he must be good. I'm going to play him too.
Rumble's fun. I mean I like Rumble. He's another one of those really hard champions though.
Yeah.
So I mean honestly, we're gonna recommend Varus. We're gonna recommend Singed, Morgana, Xerath.
Yeah, and the thing to take note with Singed is they have his difficulty like completely spiked. He's not really that hard a champ to play. Like Singed, he's a tank and he does
Yeah,
like tons of damage with
and
his
he just
Q.
got buffed.
Yeah, like turn your Q on, run at someone and throw them, and congratulations, you've played Singed.
He's really marked as difficult. Let me look at this.
Yeah, they've got him completely the highest difficulty.
No way. All right. Well, if you have any questions about a champion and if they say that they're difficult and you're curious as to know, let us know because I don't agree with that whatsoever. In fact, I think he should be down like at like one of the easiest to play because he's very simple.
Yeah, you just have to. I think the only thing with Singed is like early game, you can completely blow all your mana if you've got your Q on constantly. You have to remember that. He's all melee, so you've got to get up in someone's face. But Singed constantly surprises me how tanky that guy gets
Yeah.
without building like straight tank items.
Yeah, it is surprising. And we're also going to recommend Karma. Not just because she's been one of my favorite champions for forever, but she's legitimately strong. Like, she's just fun. She's pretty straightforward. Read up on her tooltips and learn what mantra means. But aside from that, like, her new skin is gorgeous.
Oh,
Just
it's awesome.
drop dead. It's easily it hit it like guaranteed is one of my favorite skins right now. Like that is just such a good looking skin, and she's a really fun champion as well.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're talking a little bit more in depth about items. We kind of talked about items back at the beginning, but we felt like it was necessary to go kind of more in depth, especially with the preseason coming up and the changes that are going to happen to them. We want to go over the importance of items on champions and why some items just generally work better with the type of champion. This is not going to be a build cast, like what you build on AD carry, what you build on tanks. This is why you build it.
Yeah, because it's easy enough to, like we talked about last episode, to look on guides to find good build paths or even like the recommended builds. So this isn't going to tell you what to build. It's going to be more discussing items and why they're good and what situations they're good for, etc.
Yeah, so take that with the grain of salt that it is, and if you have any problems with it, let us know. If you have any recommendations for newer players and you want to kind of talk about what works on champions, feel free to join the T-Force in-game client chat, which you will see on my screen, on your screen here in a second when we switch to the client to look at some items. But just know that this is important stuff. So pay attention here, guys.
Everything we say is important.
That's true.
Everything.
That is true. So we're going to start with a few of the basic ones before we delve into the big items. And we're starting with the basics of basics. We're starting with the Doran's items. So what exactly are the Doran's items, first off?
The Dorns are usually, well, pretty much always an early game item. Quite often, they're the first item you buy at the gate. And they're interesting because they don't actually build into anything. There's the Dorn's Blade, the Dorn's Ring, and the Dorn's Shield. And yeah, like you can stack those items, but they don't, there's no recipe that they turn into anything else with.
Mm-hmm. And it is important to note that they don't all cost the same. So remember that. I believe Doran's.
The blade is 440, Dorn's ring is 400,
Yeah.
and the shield is 440 also.
Yeah, so they don't all cost the same. So remember that as well. But that isn't to discourage you from buying them. They are fantastic early game items. They are incredibly cost effective for what they are worth, for what you spend on them. And on top of that, I mean, unless you have a really strict game plan and you want a long sword at the very beginning, it's pretty much going to be your go-to buy because they are incredibly useful at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they're useful to the point that on your first back, if you want to, for example, pick up a second Dorn's ring, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it definitely. And mages will find that to be their best thing to do. You may get poked out of lane right off the bat. Just, I don't know, maybe a jungler came in and ganked and you're not really left with a whole lot. Well, maybe that's a hint to get some more, stats and just go with the Doran's ring.
Yep.
All right, so, don't ignore those. They are important items. I'm going to skip Sightstone for a second, and let's talk about boots and trinkets, because I have a rant for Sightstone, so that's going to have to pop up.
You got Hornet's soapbox ready?
Yeah, I got my soapbox ready. All right, so trinkets. As you are well aware, there are 3 types of trinkets. Those trinkets are important as to which one you take immediately, and then what trinkets actually do, including at level 9 what they do.
Yeah, I myself really like taking that vision trinket first thing when I'm playing mid. I would say probably, I guess there's probably a little bit of debate on that, but I would say maybe for any role except possibly support taking the vision one.
Yeah, jungle, depending on how you're playing, you could advocate getting a sweeping lens trinket, the red trinket at the beginning, but that is if you're really if you're intending to go ham on people all the time, then you're probably not going to want to get the red trinket. If you want to counter a jungle, or you want to invade, or you want to gank immediately and all the time, then yeah, pick up that red trinket. But if not, if you're planning to spend some decent amount of time in your jungle, then just grab the totem. It's a waste if you don't.
Yeah, having that extra vision is super helpful.
Right. So there are the three. There are the 3 trinkets. You got your sweeping lens, the red trinket. You got your warding totem, which is the yellow trinket, and you have your scrying orb, which is a blue. They all upgrade into something at level 9 automatically. This is automatically. It just happens. You don't have to buy anything. But when you do buy the upgraded trinket past level 9, then you get a bonus to it. And these bonuses include giving you an oracles kind of deal with the sweeping lens, which is kind of cool. It gives you on scrying orb. I forget what scrying orb's upgrade does. I'm looking at it right now. It allows you to see. It increases the range by 500 units, which is kind of cool, and it looks like it's just pretty much a standard, the same as the blue regular. I never buy blue. That's why I don't know this, because it's kind of only used on a few champions. And then warding totem can upgrade into 2 different things past level 9. It can upgrade into a permanent ward, a permanent pink ward, or it can upgrade into a 3-minute regular ward. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So depending on most often you're going to be going with the warding totem. As a support, I usually, on my first back, if I get my Sightstone, I will get rid of my warding totem and switch to the sweeping lens because you want to be able to get rid of wards just as effectively as placing them. So I'm going to get rid of my warding totem and get my sweeping lens because what's the point of having a warding totem and a Sightstone? It just doesn't make sense.
Yep, you can only put down 3 wards, so having the ability to put down 4 is kind of silly.
Yeah. And for the most part, you're going to be sticking to, as a support, you're going to be sticking to that ward. As AD carry, mid laner, and top laner, you're probably going to be opting to stick with the warding totem for lots of reasons other than I don't want to face check this bush to helping your support ward.
Yeah.
And red trinket's pretty much exclusive on junglers and supports because they will probably be paying the most attention to where wards are, enemy wards, and they're gonna want to be able to help their team in that manner. So, again, read the tooltips on them because it's important for you to understand.
Just to remember too, if you are going back to trade in your trinket for another one, there is a cooldown, 120 seconds before you can use the new trinket. So don't expect to drop your ward and then go back and immediately pick up a sweeper and be able to sweep a bush for your opponent's trinket. You're gonna have to wait a little bit.
Sorry, I'm typing at the Twitch chat real quick. Yeah, so pay note of that, guys. It's important. All right, boots. Well, should we do my rant or then boots? Because it kind of touched on Sightstone.
Hey man, you go for it.
All right,
I'm eager to hear it.
All right, soapbox time. All right, so there are 2 items that allow you. Well, there's a lot of items actually that allow you to place wards without actually buying a ward. The 2 most notable ones are Sightstone and Ruby Sightstone. For a lot of reasons, Sightstone is mandatory on supports. It inevitably will end up saving you money. It also gives you health, and it's just generally a mandatory item. There's no discrimination against that. That is exactly what it is. You need it as a support. It's on every single support build. Now, Ruby Sightstone is where there's an issue, and as new players, you may not understand the concept of gold effectiveness, which is something that we will eventually touch on because, it is a concept that you probably will be doing to yourself even before you actually are aware of it. Just like calculus while driving or geometry when you kick a ball. The point is that it's just something that comes innate when you're looking at items. Ruby Sightstone is one of those things where people just don't care. They look at it and they're like, oh yeah, Ruby Sightstone, I want that because it's an upgrade to an item. No.
Nope.
Nope. It is the least cost-effective item you could possibly get next to Frozen Mallet. It's one of those things you're just you only buy if you have nothing else to buy. And that's, I have 5 other items that can't be upgraded. My trinket is now upgraded, and I have both of my pots, my elixirs, are active at the same time. And I just happen to be sitting on 800 gold, which, by the way, if you're a support and you're sitting on all that, stop stealing kills or freaking end the game. There's no reason you should ever buy a Ruby Sightstone in your life ever, okay? Don't buy it. It's a waste of money. Doesn't give you an effective amount of health. It doesn't give you anything that you can actually use immediately other than a punch in the dick when I find out that you bought it. So if you want to get punched in the dick when I found out you bought it, then you can go ahead and buy it.
Does a punch in the dick sound good to you?
Is that how you do? I'm just thinking of Archer. You bought a Ruby Sightstone. Do you want to get punched in the dick? Because that's how you get punched in the dick.
And just real quick, for any of you really new players who are wondering why, the Ruby Sightstone upgrade gives you you go from 150 health to 400 health, and you go from 4 charges for your wards to 5. And as we mentioned already, you're only allowed to have 3. So those extra charges don't do anything. I'm actually surprised Riot hasn't changed that item or just gotten rid of it or something, because it seems like a complete waste.
Yeah, I just think that they don't want to be bothered with it. It is a trap for new players, just like Frozen Mallet, and they see it and they're like, oh yeah, it's red and it's an upgrade, so they're gonna buy it. And maybe that's a strategy in and of itself. But I mean, it used to have a relevant use, like
Oh yeah,
back in season 3, when you could place as many wards as you could possibly afford. This was
you could
about a
have
year ago.
600 wards on the
Yeah,
map if you wanted.
Ruby Sightstone was a thing. Like it was effective to buy it because you got to place all 5 of those wards back, and for 3 minutes you had vision in 5 different locations. That was huge. It was a big deal, and that was awesome. But that's not the case anymore. You can only drop 3 wards in a pink, so it's just not worth it anymore.
Don't do it. Don't
So
you do it.
that's my rant, guys. Please don't buy Ruby Sightstone. Like I went from the angry phase to the begging phase. Don't buy it. Please don't buy it. It
He,
really irritates me.
he's like, it's like the worst thing a parent can be. They're not angry, they're disappointed. If you
Hmm.
buy it, you're gonna make it. You're gonna disappoint Asdorish, and you don't want that, do
I
you?
I want you every single time that you catch yourself thinking about buying Ruby Sightstone, I want you to picture what's his name from from what's that singing show?
Which one?
The singing show, like the Super American Idol.
American Idol?
What's the asshole's name? I forget his
Oh,
name.
Simon.
Simon. I want you to picture his face and think, "Son, I am disappointed." Whenever you think about buying Ruby Sightstone, and if you buy the Ruby Sightstone, I want you to literally punch yourself.
And videotape it,
Yeah.
videotape it, video it, and send it to us. Don't videotape it because nobody uses videotapes anymore. But use your
All right.
phone.
Yeah. So that's my rant. All right, that's it. That's done. It's good.
That was a pretty good rant.
All right, let's talk about boots.
I'm down.
Boots are important. Boots are a big deal. What you buy on your boots is kind of it's a commitment, really, like a girlfriend.
Yep.
But more importantly, it kind of says what you are, like as a player, what you buy that reflects. Like your boots kind of reflect who you are. It really does.
It's kind of like, yeah, it's like a fashion statement that
Hmm.
actually gives you extra stats.
Yeah, and it's important to distinguish which boots are better than others. Now, all boots are good. I'm saying this outright right now. All boots are good. For a while, I was a firm believer that Lucidity, Ionian boots of Lucidity, I literally thought that it was dog shit, and I hated them for a really long time. I went back and forth with a buddy of mine saying that I think the boots are useless. You know, with masteries and the right items, you'll hit your 40% CDR. So why do you need Lucidity? The fact of the matter is that I don't believe that anymore. I don't, because they actually give you a massive amount of movement speed.
Yeah,
Considering
you're a changed man.
I am a changed man, so like you can, for different reasons, justify buying the Ionian boots of Lucidity. Now that doesn't mean that some boots aren't better than others. This is the
I,
case.
yeah, there are two sets of boots in particular. The Sorcerer's Shoes and the Berserker Greaves. If you are an ADC, you're going to want the Berserker Greaves for that attack speed. If you are an AP champion playing mid, you're going to want the Sorc Shoes for the Magic Pen. Those are I the Sorc Shoes are probably the boots I buy the most. I have so many pairs of those. I've had to build a wing on my house to store all those Sorc Shoes.
But on a note, for that, do not disregard the power of Mercury treads.
No. Yes,
Because
that's good that you say that.
because while I completely agree, in almost every single ideal case you will be buying Berserker Greaves or Sorcerer's Shoes, there is a place for Merc treads even on carries, and it's important to note that.
Yep.
Because
That is. Oh, go ahead.
no, all you, man.
Well, I was going to say it's because Merc Treads are the only one of 2 items that give you tenacity. And tenacity reduces the duration of stuns, slows, taunts, fears, silences, blinds, polymorphs, and immobilizes by 35%. And if you are up against this team that has a ton of CC, those are invaluable.
Yeah, and remember what we say about champions dealing damage. You can have an insanely high amount of AD or AP and blow up somebody immediately, but if you're dead, if you're caught, you're not going to do anything. So Even if you're a carry and theoretically you should be protected, but you see that they have an incredible amount of CC, there is no argument in you like not buying Mercury Treads. If you bought Mercury Treads and I saw the team that you were going up against, I would not critique you. Like, that is the optimal buy because you're trying to stay alive.
Yeah, and that's where we talk about situational item buys. Like if you're an ADC and you come into the game thinking, okay, this is my build, I'm going to get a Berserker Greaves, but you start to get behind in your lane maybe because you're getting hit with a lot of CC or you just realize it's a problem, then you've got to be able to think on the fly and say, all right, I can't afford to be tied down, so I'm going to get the Merc Treads instead to keep myself a little more mobile.
And that is completely justifiable. If anyone were to critique you on that and be like, dude, wear your Sork shoes, tell him that he's wrong. Tell him that if you can protect me a little bit better, I may opt to buy those in a minute. But for right now, I'm going with the tenacity because I'm tired of getting jumped on.
Yep.
He can't say no to that. He can't. So, everything you do should have a reason, and buying Merc Treads is definitely a valid reason if there's a lot of CC.
Yeah, and just a quick note as a reminder, Tenacity is a unique passive, and like we mentioned, you can't stack unique passives. So don't buy Merc Treads and also a Zephyr thinking you're going to stack up that Tenacity because it don't work.
Yeah, but do note that Tenacity from Masteries does not conflict with Tenacity that you get in-game. So if you have innate Tenacity from Masteries or a champion, say you're playing Aurelia, you will get that Tenacity along with the items you buy, but only one item will give you Tenacity.
Yep.
And for those of you that are just legitimately curious, it's the first item you buy, not the item that is stronger. So also pay note to that. Say you get Zephyr, well, it's going to go off of your Mercury Treads, not your other ones.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting.
And also, I guess we should maybe mention that it is a legit strategy to sell your boots and get a Zephyr if you're late game, especially if you're doing pretty well, if you're ahead and you want to just get that extra attack damage and attack speed. That is a possibility.
Yeah, you can do that. All right, so the other few boots that we'll touch on real quick, boots of mobility, boots of swiftness, and ninja tabby. They all have their place. We talked about the three core ones being Greaves, Sork Shoes, and Merc Treads. Those are generally going to be the items that you buy. But for a lot of reasons, you may opt to buy mobility, swiftness, tabby. Say they have a really attack damage heavy team. You may go for the ninja tabby because it gives you a good amount of armor and it blocks 10% of damage from basic attacks. That's pretty good when their enemy Draven has 300 attack damage and he's chunking you for half your health.
Yep.
I'm gonna say. Boots of Swiftness has a really cool unique passive where it reduces the effects of slows. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful.
If you're facing off against a Ziggs, Cho'Gath, I don't know, Janna, a bunch of people that have slows, then Boots of Swiftness may actually be the thing to go instead of Mercury Treads. So, that's an option too. You just got to look at them and be like, all right, what is the most effective thing for me to build against this team? Which is something we're about to touch on when we're talking about items. And I think that's a perfect segue into big items, actually.
I like it.
I think I just did a good segue.
You did a good segue. You immediately invalidated the segue by calling it the segue. It doesn't change the fact that you initially did a very good segue.
But I gotta give myself my moments, man. Like if no one else does, it's not like you do it.
I'm proud of you, but it's more like kind of to myself. Like I think, hey, good for you. I suppose maybe I could tell you more.
Yeah. I feel like Dane Cook laughing at his own jokes, like patting myself on my back, being like, good for you, dude. Good for you.
Don't be so hard on yourself. You're nowhere near as bad as Dane Cook.
Hey, sometimes I like Dane Cook.
Man, I am not surprised at all.
All right. Let's talk about big items. So we're going to go ahead and transition. Hopefully this works flawlessly. No, it does not. Maybe. Yes, it does. There we go. Cool. Check that out. So you should be seeing my client popping up. There will be lag. I guarantee you. You're going to be kind of confused for a minute because we're having some latency issues. But hopefully that doesn't interfere with the audio, which is the more important part.
Yeah, and the YouTube video should also, if you're watching this on YouTube, the lag shouldn't affect that, or will it?
Probably
Is it?
will.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well, if I take it from my recording, it won't affect anything, which is what I will do. I will not pull from Twitch. I will pull from my recorded.
hey man, you do what you got to do.
All right, so first off, go ahead and join this chat channel down here, T-Force. Lots of good stuff in here.
Absolutely.
Lots of fun things to do here.
You can talk to us, talk to the other T-Force guys, find people to play games with. It's a good group of people.
Yeah, we're all fun, and we love each other.
Yep.
And add us. Feel free to add us. You know, yeah, you got my name right here, Ezrishan. You got Snaggle or Snaggle.
Holy 46 friends. Oh my God.
Dude,
I got 9.
people add me all the time. I think 2 people added me during this. Yeah.
Wow. I guess Asdrishan's the cool one.
Snag Wolf, add that guy. He's cool.
I'm cool.
Yeah. Add this guy, Pone.
He'll probably yell at you, but that just means he loves you.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No, it does not. Okay. So big items. Big items. What do we want to start with? Let's start with Randuin's, because that's what we got listed.
I like it. And it just became a good item again, or
Yeah.
a better item.
Even better item. Randuin. Okay. First and foremost, we should say this right now. The preseason patch is coming out. Now, I can't tell you what that means, other than there may be a massive item overhaul, and everything we say could get tossed right out the window.
I would not be surprised
And
if
I
that
wouldn't
happened.
be surprised either. No, I don't think either of us would be surprised. So, if you're watching this in Season 5 and there's a massive item change and you're noticing some things that are different, don't get mad at us because it's not our fault.
Yeah, maybe the new Randuin's gives you like 20% lifesteal and 60% dodge and makes you float. But as of
You
right
become
now,
Ezreal and Jax in one.
oh man, Uber champ. Yeah, but as of right now, it doesn't do any of those things. So don't yell at us if it does later.
Yeah. So Randuin's Omen, really, really, really good item.
Yeah.
It is your go-to item if you're playing an Initiate champion.
Yep.
By far. So you can go ahead and read what it says right there. You got a unique passive, Cold Steel. When hit by basic attacks, reduces the attacker's attack speed by 15%. For obvious reasons, this is an amazing item against an AD carry. And has a unique active. Slows the movement speed of nearby enemies by 35% for 2 seconds. And that is increased by a second per armor by 1 second, and by 1 second per 200 magic resist. So that means if you have 200 armor and 200 magic resist, those combined will add 2 seconds to it.
That's
if
huge.
you have 400 armor, which if you have 400 armor, you're playing the game wrong. But if you have 400 armor and 400 magic resist, tell me your build because I'm really curious as to how you did that. And that will add 2 per, so you'll have an added 4 seconds, which brings it up to 6 seconds.
Yeah, this item is a tank's best friend. If you're someone who's like stacking armor like Tarek or Rammus, this is going to be a real good item for you.
Yeah, solid item. Pretty much mandatory on most initiates. And this is the remember the active, because the active is important. We're going to be throwing a lot of items at you that have actives. Whether or not we recommend them, we will tell you, but you need to take the entire item in consideration when you're looking to buy it. Randuin's Omen is bought for the active. I mean, and for the passive, but almost primarily for the active. And AoE slow, pretty freaking good.
Yeah, and like we mentioned on a previous episode, if you're work on getting good with those actives, because if you're forgetting to use it, you're missing out on a huge portion of what makes items as good as they are.
Yeah. So that's Randuin's Omen. That's your best friend when it comes to tanks. Blade of the Ruined King. What? Won't let me type Bork. Blade of the Ruined King. Alright, so this item is one of two lifesteal items that 80 carries tend to pick up, but it is not specifically for 80 carries.
Now, this item gets built in top lane quite a bit too.
Yes, it does. And in some junglers, depending on who you're playing. So, Blade of the Ruined King, again, you can read it. It's right there. It gives you some good stats. The unique passive is probably the biggest reason why you build this item. And it is absolutely quintessential that you understand what it does, or else you're not going to understand what you can do with it. And this is why we're talking about the reasons why you will build an item. What is easy to tell you. Why is a whole nother story. So the unique passive of Blade of the Ruined King, basic attacks deal 8% of the target's current health, and bonus physical damage. This maxes out at 60 versus monsters and minions on hit. So a few keywords there. Basic attacks, current health, physical damage.
Remember, also, I would add in there percentage.
Oh, and percentage. Yeah, percentage. So you're going to see this item built on people like Vayne, people like Zed, anybody that kind of relies on a lot of auto attacks kind of really quickly. And it's a good item, honestly. It's a really good item. It's expensive. As you can see, it's 3,200 gold, so it's one of the more expensive items in the game, but for a reason.
Yeah, it's really good for anything that has percentage damage is a great item for going against tanks, because you're sapping basically a percentage, like it says, of their health. So it's ignoring resistances essentially, and so like even if it doesn't matter if that tank has 200 health or 4,000 health, that percentage damage scales with however much they've got.
Yeah.
So it's a good item for that.
But a note to take into consideration is that the damage is not true damage, which means it still has to abide by the laws of armor. So when you are doing the basic attacks, yes, you will be doing technically 8% of the target's current health, but that is before armor is considered. So when it takes into consideration of armor, that can change. So let's just take 100. I'm going to throw some numbers at you guys, and it's just to kind of help you. It's going to kind of help you understand what exactly is going on. So say you have Blade the Ruined King, and you have 100 damage. I don't see that actually ever happening, but we're going to use it because it's easy. And you attack somebody that has, let's say they have 2,000 health. On hit, no, let's do 1,000 health. That's easier. On hit, you should theoretically be doing 8% of the target's current health in physical damage, which means 1,000. 8% of 1,000 is 80 damage. 80 damage physical damage. Now, that's before armor is taken into consideration. Say they have 100 armor and they are blocking 30%. That means 30% of the 80 damage that you were going to do is going to be blocked. It will be negated. So I can't do that in my head, but it should be close to, okay, well, I kind of actually can. So if 80 attack damage and it did 50%, then that would drop to 40. It's going to be a little bit less than that. So it's probably going to be around close to like 20 damage. So you'll be doing 60 attack damage on top of your auto attack damage. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good amount.
Yeah, even with that armor, you're still, because you're auto attacking so fast, if you're, because you're an AD carry, that's your whole job, you're going to be taking a lot of life out of them.
Yeah, so it's important to understand what these items do, and I know that probably went over your head completely because it's a really difficult concept to think of, okay, what does this actually mean in the game? Theoretically, looking at it, you could be like, oh man, that's really good. And yeah, it is really good, but why is it really good? And what does that actually mean? 8% current health, and that will drop. That current, like that, as their health drops, your damage will also drop with the Blade of the Ruined King. So it's also something you need to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that's good about that item is it's got a good build path. Like when you build, first you get the Vamp Scepter, which is a great item, and then add to that a longsword, and you build the Bilgewater Cutlass, and that's another really good item that you can even sit on for a little bit if you have to, and it's still going to help you out a lot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree. Yeah, and we'll toss in the active is also pretty important too. It
Yes,
deals 10% of the target champion's maximum health. That's a big thing because uh, that's immediately taking 10% of their health away immediately. But you have to remember to use the active, which is something that which is another reason why you build this item is you got to remember to use the active. And then it also heals you for that same amount. It steals their movement speed and it gives it to you. So, I mean, you can see how good this item is just by ignoring the other parts of this item. Just by the passive and the active, this item is amazing.
yeah,
And it's one of the reasons why a lot of AD carries opt to buy this item, especially with the changes to Bloodthirster that happened several months ago. This item is now a very popular item.
definitely.
All right, so that's your Blade of the Ruined King. Pretty big deal. Use it well. So it's important. Let's look at Rabadons.
As a mid laner, this is one of my favorite items.
Yes. First and foremost, though, I do want to say do not build this item first.
No,
Not your first build. This is your supplementary. This is your cherry on your cake. This is your hat on your head.
hey,
It's not
you
supposed to be the shirt that you wear.
I
It's
hate
supposed
you
to
so
be.
much. It looks super attractive. It gives you a ton of ability power, but it's really expensive. And also, there are other items you should build first to help you get to that point.
Uh, that unique passive is the reason why you don't build this first. It increases your ability power by 30%. This occurs every single time you get ability power. Even if you're Vigor and you just killed a minion with your Q and you got that 1 AP, it's going to take 30% of that 1 AP and up it and give it to you again. So every single time you get ability power, Rabadons will effectively increase the ability power that you have. So you don't want to build this first because you're only giving yourself 30% ability power on top of the 120 you just got.
Yep.
Now, I mean, that's not even like, that's, okay, that's like 30 ability power. No, it's like 40. That's like 40 ability power. That's not a whole lot. You only,
Congratulations, that just cost you 3,300 gold.
yeah, when you could have gotten something like Randuin's, I'm sorry, not Randuin's, Rod of Ages that would have, progressively helped you and is a lot cheaper. Or
Yeah, and the
a
other thing too
Fiend's.
is when you're an AP champion, quite often early game you're usually hurting a bit as far as mana goes, and Rabadon's doesn't do anything to help with your mana pool or to increase regeneration. So that's not going to help you there.
Yeah, so it's important to pay note to that. We've been going for 45 minutes. Did you know that?
Jeez.
Yeah. Um, so it's a good item. It's pretty much mandatory on most mages. I've even seen it on some supports. Uh, and I think it's pretty effective once you get your first mana item or your first ability power item. So once you get that first ability power item, you can justify buying this item.
Yeah, I when I'm playing Ziggs, I like to build it. I'll usually go. I'll usually get my Athenes and then finish my boots, or sometimes finish the boots first, and then I'll get the Rabadons.
Yeah. So it's good. It's a good second, maybe third item. But that's your Rabadons. Let's just do Death Cap because I'm already here. Or I'm sorry, Deathfire.
Sure.
All right, Deathfire Grasp, another active item. This is the bread and butter to all mage assassins. So you're thinking LeBlanc. Um, LeBlanc is the biggest one that comes to mind, but I like it
Yeah.
on Annie because she can assassinate people.
Fizz, it's pretty good on.
Biz. So it gives you everything that you really could desire uh, as an AP champion. The only thing is that remembering to do it is tough, even for
Yes.
me. Like, it's just kind of hard to remember. Like, for whatever reason, I can remember my Blade of the Ruined King all the time. But when it comes to Deathfire Grasp, I don't know what it is. I just can't always remember to use it.
Yeah, and it's especially for a champion like LeBlanc, where as far as like button clicks. You're
Yeah,
hitting a lot of buttons, and you're got remembering which spells to mimic and whatnot. Throwing in another active in there can be pretty difficult to wrap your head around when you're learning it.
yeah. So this is an item that's really good. It's just it takes a lot of skill to use effectively.
Also, the other thing there too is I think with your Bork, you can kind of use that. You don't need to necessarily use it immediately, but with the Deathfire, because it says that it increases all subsequent magic damage taken by the
Hmm.
target, like the earlier you can use that, the better.
Yeah. So I mean, it works very similar to Bork in the sense that it takes 15% of the target's maximum health as magic damage. Again, remember magic damage, not true damage.
Yep.
So it will not take exactly 15%. You always got to remember that when you're looking at items like this. Like you may think, oh man, I just shaved off 15% of his health. No, you didn't. You probably shaved off more like 8 or 9. But that's still really good. And then all subsequent damage, like Snaggle said, is increased by 20% for 4 seconds. So after 4 seconds, that debuff is worn off and all your damage is normal.
Yeah. But if you're playing someone like LeBlanc, if they're not dead before 4 seconds, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're probably dead, actually. If they're not
Yeah.
dead within 4 seconds, there's probably a good chance that you died.
Yeah.
So, good item. Use it effectively. It can be the bread, like I said, the bread and butter to AP Assassin mages. I definitely use it on LeBlanc. I definitely use it on Diana. I definitely use it on Fizz. So, it's a good item. Just remember to use that active and know what it does. Magic Pen work on Deathfire? It does. It does work on Deathfire. So if you do any magic damage to somebody, if you do any magic damage to somebody, it doesn't matter what it's from, your magic penetration and armor penetration will work in that manner. So say you have a Last Whisper that gives you a decent amount of armor penetration and you use your Blade of the Ruined King, your Blade of the Ruined King's active and passive will also penetrate. So thank you for pointing that out, Jay. Thank you. I actually really appreciate that. Oh, it's just my. I wish I could get rid of this. Actually, I kind of intend to. Can I just delete it? There we go. Deleted. Sorry, that's my. I only have one item set page for champions because I
Yeah.
never use them.
Don't build Deathfire on Leona. That's a bad idea.
Well, it depends. If you're playing Jungle Leona, it is not a bad idea at all.
I would love to see Jungle Leona.
Oh, my Jungle Leona is amazing. All right, since we're talking about bread and butter, let's look at Infinity Edge. Infinity Edge is amazing.
Yeah, that's a real good item if you're a ADC.
Yeah, so you can read it right there. Again, unique passive is unique, so if you try and build 2 of these, well, you'll have 50% crit strike, but that's it.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You know, critical strikes deal 250% damage instead of 200. So usually you're doing 100% of your damage before armor. Now you're doing 250% on critical strikes, which is pretty substantial.
Yeah, if you're playing someone like Yasuo, who you shouldn't if you're new to the game, but if you are, he's doing even more damage with that passive of his.
Yeah. Although do note that he does 10% less damage on critical strikes with his
Yep.
passive. But I mean, you're still at the beginning of the game. You're still doing 190% on critical strikes, and he crits all the time. So
Yeah.
it was pretty much mandatory. So I mean, the point being though is that when you get a little, and this is another one of those items that after you have critical strike, you build this. I see far too often people buy this as their first item. You don't want to do that. You want to get a little bit of crit under your belt before you pop this baby because it's expensive. It's actually, I think it's one of, is it the most expensive item in the game? Or is Trinity Force the most expensive item in the game?
Mercurial is 3,800.
Okay, so it is one of the most expensive items in the game. So this is a huge commitment when you're deciding to buy Infinity Edge.
Yeah. Even just the parts of it, like the BF sword, it's 1550. That is not a cheap item.
No, it is not. If you can get that on your first back, though, you are set for the rest of the laning phase. Oh my dear goodness! But that's another talk.
Yeah.
So Infinity Edge, pretty standard on 80 carries and people like Yasuo that do crit damage, Tryndamere, you know, those sorts of champs. But again, don't forget to take into consideration the fact that you actually need crit to make this item worth anything.
Yep.
All right. What else we want to look at? Rod of Ages.
Rod of Ages is a good item for those mages who also want to get a little tanky, because it gives you a pretty big boost of health. So you're talking about Maokai, Rise. It gives you a big chunk of mana too. So someone like Anivia who's got mana issues, Rod of Ages is a good item for her.
I'm actually really conflicted about Rod of Ages.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For a long time, I liked the item, and then for a long time, I didn't like the item, and it just kind of went back and forth in that manner. And there's a lot of reasons why I did that, but I mean, I think the biggest reason is that it was like a safety net. Like, you built Rod of Ages, and it's a massive commitment, and the reason you built Rod of Ages was, one, because that unique passive, Valor's Reward, upon leveling up, restores health and mana. It was just so nice getting Catalyst near the early beginning of the game. But it felt like I was buying it because I was getting poked in lane or I was having mana. I mean, a lot of reasons why I was opting to buy this item. And then, once I finally finished it, I mean, it does give you a decent amount of ability power and health and mana, but it just didn't feel like an end game item.
It definitely doesn't feel as like, it doesn't feel like a splashy item, like, oh crap, I've got this, now it's time to wreck face. But it's gives you so many good stats. It's like a great all-around item.
Yeah.
And the thing we should mention is the passive, I'll read it, it grants 20 health, 20 mana, and plus 2 ability power per stack, and it grants 1 stack per minute. So it's an item you want to try and finish early, so you have time to stack it. You don't really want to be buying a Rod of Ages late game. But yeah, I just really like it on those champions where you want some AP, but you also want to be a little tanky, or like a Rise, where the more mana you have, the more damage you're doing, or Kassadin.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I completely agree 100%. This item is amazing for newer players. Absolutely amazing, because it gives you, like I said, it's a safety net. It gives you beef. It allows you to live longer. It gives you all the stats that you could possibly really dream, except for cooldown reduction. But the point being is that it's a nice beginner's item. And I feel like it's a really good introduction into, learning to play the game with respect to not taking a lot of damage. So, I could buy Rod of Ages, but I'm doing really good at not getting poked down. Do I actually buy this item now? That's why I feel like it's a safety net. For newer players, it's a thing to look to when you feel like you're just taking too much damage.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But, I mean, if you have any questions about the item, you can always feel free to email us. I mean, I'm still conflicted. I don't know how I feel about the item, and it'll just take a lot of thinking and arguments and debates to get me on one side or the other. But we're still going to recommend it because it is a good item.
Yeah, I think we could probably agree that, like, on Kassadin, Rise, and Anivia, like, it's a must-have.
Yeah. So we should talk about an item that we do think is absolutely mandatory on mid laners, and that is Athene's.
Yes, I love that item so much.
Everybody should love this item. Come on, pop up the tooltip. Don't do this to me right now. Are you kidding me? Okay, there we go. Athene's Holy Grail is the bread and butter of every mid laner.
Yep.
This is your go-to item, pretty much regardless on any champion that you're playing in the mid lane, unless that champion's like an AD champion. This is your item. This is your... I don't leave home without it, honestly.
No, and they even nerfed it recently, and it's still an amazing item. Like, they nerfed it, and I said, okay, cool, I'm still going to buy this.
Yeah. It's just so, like, when I said earlier an item that gives you everything you could possibly want, this is that item.
Yep.
This is definitely that item. It gives you ability power. It gives you magic resist. It gives you mana regen. It gives you cooldown reduction. It gives you so much mana regen that it's ridiculous. Like, the mana regen it gives you is just stupid. Like, as soon as you get this, if you have mana problems, I don't believe you.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah. This item's
For,
amazing.
for someone like Ziggs,
It makes
like
my
you
dick
can,
rock hard.
yeah, you just throw so many bombs. Throw all your bombs because you're going to be regenning your mana.
Yeah.
And cooldown. Cooldown is huge.
20%!
That's ridiculous.
That's half of your cap. Like, with masteries, that puts you at 26% cooldown reduction.
Ridiculous.
24% cooldown reduction. That is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and like I even like both parts of this item. Like Fiendish Codex gives you 30 ability power, 10% cooldown reduction. That's great. The Chalice of Harmony is more the regen side of it, 20 magic resist, 7 mana regen, and a unique passive, Mana Font, increases your mana regen by 1% per 1% of missing mana. So the less you have, the faster you're going to regen it. And like that's a great item on its own. Probably like a good thing to mention is like I like getting the Chalice first for that mana regen and a bit of magic resist.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find that you're mid laning against maybe like an AD champ like Yasuo or Zed, and if they're starting to do some damage, you're a little worried about them, you can just sit on that Chalice and build like a Seekers to get some armor.
Yeah.
And you're still going to be getting a ton of benefit from that even without finishing the Athenes.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think Athenes, for a while I was like, oh man, I don't build Athenes unless I'm playing against an AP mage, but it's just that cooldown reduction is just mandatory, and it gives you a good amount of ability power, and the mana regen, like, not building an item just because there's not a whole lot of magic resist on the enemy team is just silly. Like,
Yeah.
and I realize that. Every mid laner I feel like should get this item. If you're playing an AP mage, maybe not first, but you should get this item.
Yeah. For a little bit, that's probably cool, but just at some point you want to finish it.
Yeah. So that's our raging erections for Athenes because we're both mid laners and we both love that item.
I love it so much.
Oh, I love it so much. All right, I'm gonna go back towards tanks and look at Sunfire Cape.
I also really like this item.
Yeah, it's a good item. All right, so first thing you should know about Sunfire Cape is it makes you look incredibly badass.
Yeah, when we were talking about Rod of Ages and how it doesn't feel like a splashy item, this item does. When you finish it, you're like, oh, okay, there's flames shooting off of me. I'm awesome.
Yeah, like I put like this item on Leona, and then you pop Eclipse. Like,
Oh, it's nuts.
oh, I just melt. I melt. I literally. There's a reason I love Leona for a lot of different reasons. Her in a Sunfire Cape just completes me. It literally completes me. Ah, so good. So, I mean, you can't read the tooltip, but it says 450 health, 45 armor, and a unique passive, the best part of this, deals 25 magic damage per second to nearby enemies that increases by 1 per champion level. So, at level 18, you get 18 bonus damage that puts you at 33 damage per second to nearby enemies. And you may not think that that's a lot, but imagine being in the middle of a team fight where you're surrounded by 4 other people. 4 times 33 puts you close to 134, 132? 132 magic damage per second. I mean, granted, that's before magic resist, but don't tell me that is not appealing, because that is incredibly appealing.
Imagine for a second. Close your eyes and just imagine for a second you are an armored armadillo turtle named Ramus. And
Okay.
people see you're doing it. You're doing a great job. And you've got this item on.
Yeah.
And people are already killing themselves, hitting you. And then you add a Sunfire Cape to that. You're killing them while they're killing themselves.
Oh, no. They kill themselves. You don't even kill them. You just stand there while they burn to death.
And you know what? For good measure, turn your ult on too. Like, because why not?
Now we're hitting children. Like, that's what it feels like when you buy this item. Because it's just watching someone beat themselves up by standing next to you.
It's
like watching Fight Club. It's amazing.
Yep.
So get this item. This is another one of those, I just wanna just stand here and watch people die kind of item.
I love it. And it also, that we haven't even talked about, really, it gives you a ton of health and it gives you a ton of armor on top of that.
Yeah, it's a good item. And
Oh,
it's not stupid expensive like other items are. Like it's still, expensive, but I mean it's worth it.
oh,
Is it
for
worth
sure.
it? It's worth it.
Absolutely. Just real quick before you go on, if anyone wants to follow us in talking about the items, you can either look in your client, like Asdrishan is, or I'll post a quick link in the chat. You can go on the league website, and there's a pretty easy list of items on there too that you can use. So
Yeah.
yeah, just got that out of the way.
Sorry about that. I was wanting the tooltip up because I wanted to be able to read it. I probably should have mentioned something like that earlier, but it is what it is. We should skip this one and go to, because that's a big conversation.
The tier.
Well, yeah. You want to do tier? Well, tier and static shiv are kind of big conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's do Frozen Heart because we're already kind of talking about tanks.
Let's do it.
Frozen Heart, and then we'll talk about Frozen Mallet too. Frozen Heart. This item is, I feel like I'm saying this phrase a lot, but I'm not. This is your bread and butter number 2 as a tank.
Yeah.
Because, well, so long as you have mana, because cooldown reduction and that unique aura is so good. So there's this crazy thing called the Frozen Heart Randuin's Omen combo that just works in such synergy that it's bullshit. Like, you get these 2 items and an AD carry tries to attack you, and they just kind of like shit themselves with how little damage they do to you, and then 2, how slow they attack.
Here's what you do: bind laugh to an easy to reach key, and then just stand there while they shoot you, and just keep spamming the laugh button.
Yeah.
And watch them get mad.
Because it's hilarious, especially if you can get these 2 items within the first 20 minutes. Oh my goodness, hilarity ensues. You wanna know what it feels like to just be that guy that never dies? You get these 2 items and get some Merc Treads, and you'll never die.
It's amazing.
So Frozen Heart gives you 100 armor, 400 mana, which is why it needs to be on a mana champion. Don't use this on Zac. Wait, Zac uses mana. I'm tripping.
Yes.
Yeah, Zac uses health, not mana. You're right. Thank you. Don't get this on Zac. It's kind of a waste. This is one of those times where I will say it's kind of a waste because it kind of is a waste.
Or Garen, it's kind of a waste. Garen. He doesn't have any mana.
Yeah. But 20% cooldown reduction, and then it reduces the attack speed of nearby enemies by 15%. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And this is why we said it's really good with Randuin's Omen, because they stack together. These unique auras. See, Randuin's Omen is a unique passive. That unique passive is on hit, they deal their attack speed is reduced by 15%. This is an aura. They're 2 different things. So they're reducing their attack speed by 30% just by hitting you.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny. So I'm pretty sure they stack. Am I tripping right now? I'm fairly confident that they stack.
I think you're right. But I'm going to tell you you're right.
I'm going to bring him. I know it's okay. So unique passive, Cold Steel. When hit by basic attacks, reduces the attacker's attack speed by 15%. Unique Aura reduces the attack speed of nearby. Yeah, this stacks. Now, granted, they don't immediately stack on top of each other. I'm going to throw some more math at you guys. So say you have 1 attack speed per second. You get within range. You're going to be within range of Frozen Heart before you attack somebody. So just conceptually think about this. You attack the person with Frozen Heart. Well, you're going to attack the person with Frozen Heart, and you have 1 attack speed per second. That means you're dropped down by 0.15 attack speed per second, which means you're now at 0.85 attacks per second. Then as soon as you attack them, it drops you 15% of 0.85. So it's not 15% of 1, it's 15% of 0.85, which is going to be a little bit less than what it sounds like immediately. So you're probably going to drop down to about 0.75 attack speed is what your attack speed is going to be. It will not be at 0.7. So just take that into consideration. That's what will happen when you attack somebody. But that's still a lot. Like, you need to know that that's still a lot.
Yeah, because
Oh, thank you, Santana.
an ADC's whole thing is attacking, hitting hard, and hitting fast. If
Yeah.
they're not hitting fast, you've cut them in half, basically. So, and with the armor on top of that, they're not going to be hitting hard. So
Yeah.
they're kind of useless.
Yeah. So thank you, Santana. He put in the Twitch chat, they stack, but multiplicatively
Multiplicative, multi, multiplicatively.
to
That's how it's
23
pronounced.
to 23.5%.
Multiple.
That thing.
I think he made that word up. That's not a word. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Multiplicatively.
Yeah. So Frozen Heart, this is your second bread and butter item as a tank. So, you know.
Now, don't confuse Frozen Heart with Frozen Mallet.
Yeah, don't confuse this amazing item with this piece of shit that just randomly got shat out of Riot. They literally took a dump and were like, here, use this as an item.
We made this for you. Here is this.
Worst. This is next to Ruby Sightstone as one of the worst freaking items in the game. One, it is so goddamn expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit, Joel. That's really expensive. And then on top of that, it is so useless. Like, stupid useless. I mean, there's a lot of ways that they can make this item actually worth something. So for those of you who don't know, Frozen Mallet costs 3,300 gold. It gives you 700 health and 30 attack damage. You know, looking at just those stats, you're kind of like, oh, that's not too bad. For 3,300, that's really expensive, and that's a waste. Just saying that right now. But the unique passive is the thing that pisses off most players. It's called Icy. Basic attacks slow the target's movement speed for 1.5 seconds on hit. And that depends on what attack you're using. For melee attacks, it's 40% slow. For ranged attack, it's 30% slow. First off, that doesn't even make sense. How does a ranged I'm throwing a mallet at you and you're getting slow. Like, this is what's happening. I'm shooting hammers. You're getting slow. You feel it? You feel being slow?
It's like you're an Icy Thor throwing his hammers.
Stupid as shit. Secondly, it's only for 1.5 seconds. Like, that's not a lot of time. And you know, you can make an argument saying, oh, well, if I consistently hit them, they'll be consistently slow. You know what? You're fucking wrong. Because the second I flash out of there, you're not going to have that slow on me anymore. So if you want to blow your flash to follow me, then you go right ahead.
Yeah, and this comes back to what we briefly talked about, like gold efficiency. This is not an efficient item. There's so many better items you can buy than spending $6 billion on this piece of garbage.
Piece of couldn't have said it better myself. Piece of
crap. If someone compiled the 10 Commandments, the Trinity Force 10 Commandments, somewhere on this list, probably right near the top, is ye shall not buy Frozen Mallet, for it is trash.
Yeah, for it is trash. This is the bread and butter of shitty players. You know, I've been using this phrase a lot, so I'm just gonna go with it. Bread and butter of crap ass no thinkers. So if you want to be that guy, you build this. Build a Ruby Sightstone. Build 4 of them. I don't care. I'm gonna watch you lose.
And then punch yourself.
And then punch yourself. And then videotape it.
Yep. And send that tape to America's Funniest Home Videos, and you could win some money.
Yeah, you definitely can. All right, so we're done trash talking those 2 items. Spirit Visage?
Spirit Visage. This is another item I like.
Yeah, this is a great item. Fantastic item. Incredibly gold efficient. Just a really, really good, fun item in general. You want to say what it does while I nibble on some of this sandwich?
Oh, sure. Spirit Visage. It is 2750. It builds out of a Spectre's Cowl, which is a great item, and a Kindle Gem, which is also a great item. And for that money, you get 400 health, 55 magic resist, 20 health regen per 5 seconds, 10% cooldown reduction, and the unique passive increases self-healing, health regen, lifesteal, and spell vamp effects by 20%. So for a champ who has some sort of lifesteal or regen or spell vamp baked into his kit, especially a tanky one, this is an amazing item. Garen, Volibear, Mundo,
Mundo.
Mundo, Maokai. All of these champions benefit huge from this item. And the other thing that's great about it, that I love about really good items, is the build path is great.
Fantastic.
The Spectre's Cowl is another one of those items you can sit on for a little bit because it gives you a good amount of health, a good amount of magic resist, and the regen is super helpful. And the Kindle Gem is another item that you can sit on for a bit because you get a good amount of health and you get CDR, cooldown reduction. Just overall, this is an excellent item.
It's a good item. I mean, we could sing its praises for days, but I mean, what more could you ask for in an item, honestly?
Yep.
Like, especially with the meta that it is nowadays to sustain and to stay, like, I mean, like, this just gives you everything you want. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you to buy this item if you are planning on being, tanky. You should just know this item is amazing. Now, mind you, don't build this on people like Soraka or your 80 carry. Like, it's not going to help you there. Where you want this is on the tank. You want this. If you have a Sona and a Sona or a Soraka or anyone that can give you heals, even then, this item is amazing. Even if you don't have like self-healing integrated, because it's just that good of an item. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic item. Build this. It's
They
fucking
mentioned
awesome.
in the chat, they mentioned Vlad and Nasus, and
Yeah.
those two benefit
my
huge.
It-
You'll
immensely.
never kill a Nasus who has this item.
I mean, just real quick, because I'm going to throw more math at you,
Oh God!
just because I love to, and you should know this. It
You
gives
do
you
this because it
20
makes me uncomfortable, don't you?
It gives you 20 health regen per 5 seconds on top of your, I don't know, 4 to 9, depending on who you're playing. So it gives you a good amount of health regen right then and there. Your unique passive increases self-healing and health regen on top of what you just got. It's like giving you a high five, another high five, and a kiss on the cheek just because it loves you that much. Like, we're going to give you some increased self-healing on top of more healing. So right off the bat, it says 20 health regen per 5 seconds. That's not true. It's giving you 22.
And just real quick while we're talking about regen with this item, have you seen Garen with his new passive?
Yeah, it's dumb. It's
It
stupid.
is. You just sit there and watch his life bar go.
I played him. I played him in ARAMs, and I think it had to be one of the most hilarious things I ever saw. Because within 10 minutes of the game, when you reach that point where your health actually starts showing up as it's like coming to you.
Yeah.
Like when you pop your Mundo ult and you're like, oh, 35, 35, 35 per second. I got that within 10 minutes of the game on Garen.
It's like he has Volibear's passive, but all the time.
All the time. It's stupid. It's hilarious. But yeah.
And you put this item on him, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. So, fantastic item, guys. Buy it. It's yours. I love it.
I think also, let's call out another segue where we're talking about magic resist. Banshee's Veil.
Oh yeah.
If you are a champion, especially who doesn't have any sustain, or you don't really have any of that to rely on, then go for Banshee's Veil.
Now, for a while, this item was pretty much mandatory on every single champion.
It's super good.
And we don't really need to tell you why, because I'm going to tell you why anyway. Unique passive. Grants a spell shield that blocks the next enemy ability. What?
Yeah, that is so useful.
So useful. This shield refreshes after no damage is taken from enemy champions for 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds, you can reflect the damage or the abilities of an item of another ability. Every 40 seconds, so long as you don't take damage. So, I don't know. Karthus is against you, and the enemy Varus just called out that Vayne is kind of low. Well, he's not 6 yet, but he's gonna be soon. And he just got you. I mean, you have your Banshee's Veil, and you're like, I don't really feel like taking damage from you, Karthus.
Yeah,
Screw you.
won't.
That's Banshee's Veil.
Yeah, your shield. It's just like, no, I'm not going to allow you to kill me.
It's pretty amazing. It is pretty dang amazing. And this used to be on a shorter cooldown. I think it was like 30 seconds.
Yeah, they nerfed that fairly recently.
That was stupid. Stupid. It's insane. But I mean, the other unique passive of this is it grants 45 health regen per 5 seconds for up to 10 seconds after taking damage from an enemy champion or when the spell shield breaks. Now, it's a little confusing to think about, but say you just took damage, well, your shield isn't up, but you just got 45 health regen per 5 seconds. That is 9 health per second on top of your regular regen for 10 seconds. That's 90 health just for free because, we love you.
That ain't nothing to sneeze at.
No, it is not. It's not at all. That's every time you take damage from an enemy champion or when the shield procs. So that's pretty good too. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's called Banshee's Veil. There's probably someone on the Riot team that is named Riot Banshee because that's something that they do quite frequently. Is they'll take a rioter's name and they'll put that name into an item just kind of as a tribute to them.
Yes, Morellonomicon.
Mm-hmm. So
there's a ton of that. And yeah, and you also get 450 health, and that's a decent chunk of health.
Yeah, and good magic resist as well. So
yep.
Pretty good item. It's not. I don't think it's better than Spirit Visage. Depending, I mean, it can be depending on who you're playing, but still a fantastic item.
Yes.
All right.
Also, just and to mention quickly, it can be a good final item on an AD carry if you are not ahead. If you need to build some defensive stats because maybe the enemy team has a lot of magic and they're beating up on you a little bit, or you're worried about getting caught by that Karth Assault, for example, or by like my brain's not working, but some snare. Someone's got a good snare. Mm-hmm. Banshee's Veil is a good item to build.
All right, so we still have a little bit more, like several items to talk about. But real quick, for those of you that are watching in YouTube, for those of you in chat, we're not going to really do anything crazy. But for those of you watching in YouTube, go ahead, pause it right now if you need to. Take a break. This is a good stopping point because from here on out, we're going to be kind of talking about a little bit more in-depth stuff. It's going to be a bit more like debating on which one should you buy type of deal. So pause it, take a minute, grab a drink.
Here's a question.
What's up?
Do we maybe want to turn this into a part 2 next week? How long have we been going?
We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I mean, we still have several to talk about. So if we want to, we can just cut it now.
That might not be a bad idea.
We still, I mean, I suppose...
Tier's going to be a pretty big conversation. We've still got Leandries, Zonia's, Thornmail. We haven't even touched Trinity Force or Locket yet.
That's true. We do still have quite a lot. Well, maybe we should just call it. How about we finish up some of the smaller ones and then we get into some of the bigger ones?
Sure. We could talk about Void Staff. That's a pretty easy to understand item.
Yeah, we'll talk about Void Staff and Last Whisper because those two are pretty good. I need to get rid of this again.
Hey, here's a situation. Are you a mage? Does the enemy have a bunch of MR? Are they stopping all your abilities? Well, have we got an item for you?
Oh, yes.
The Void Staff.
The Void Staff.
70 ability power, and most importantly, unique passive. Magic damage ignores 35% of the target's magic resist.
Yeah, you want to know the best part about this item, though?
Tell me.
It's broke fucking cheap.
Yeah, super cheap.
Super cheap. I mean, 2,300 gold. Now, you may be looking at it being like, wow, that's pretty expensive. Compared to Death Cap, it's, Big Brother, 3,300 gold.
Not so expensive.
This is a good item. This is that asshole just built magic resist and I'm not doing as much damage. I need to fix that. Or the enemy team is threatened by me because I'm playing so well and I'm so good because I've been listening to this podcast. They're building magic resist to stop me. This is the middle finger that you give to them.
It's even kind of shaped like a finger.
Yeah, it is. It's even shaped like a finger. This item is awesome.
Yep.
I mean, again, it's one of those items that we really don't need to sing too much praise about because it kind of does it for itself. But, why not? I just throw some more math at you just because I love you.
Why not?
Yeah. Magic damage ignores 35% of the target's magic resist, and this is applied before magic penetration. Now, it's a little confusing to look at. So let's kind of break it down for you. 35% of targets magic resist. Let's just use our base 100 because, we like to say it. And say your Disintegrate on Annie deals 100 damage. Now, I know it does more than that, but let's just say it does 100 magic damage. Now, this is applied before magic penetration. So this is the one kind of Debbie Downer type of deal, because just by thinking about magic penetration ignores a certain amount of MR, and then it does damage. So say you have 15% magic penetration, well, you're ignoring 15% of that magic, and then that is, dealt. So it's a little confusing to think about, but that's the only downside to this entire item, is that it ignores it before magic penetration. If it ignored it after magic penetration, you would do more damage. So that's the little confusing part. Some people don't understand. That's what it's saying.
Yeah. But the part that isn't confusing is knowing when to use it. Hit that tab key. Are they building MR? If yes, buy Void Staff.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. You're going to be hitting them harder.
And again, I'm sorry if I confuse people with my analytics. It's just kind of how I work. I look at an item and go, okay, what does it actually do? Well, this is what it actually does. Applies before magic penetration means this. That is not a buff. That is a downside to this item. So that's it, though. That's the only downside to this item.
Yep.
And it's, I would say it's kind of like its cousin. Its cousin, the Last Whisperer. Very similar in pretty much everything except for, how much attack damage it gives you. Because,
Last Whisper is like the Void Staff for attack and damage champions.
Yeah, they go kind of hand in hand. I mean, Void Staff gives you 70 ability power. Last Whisper gives you 40. Now, 40 is nothing to sneeze at, like you said before. It's still a good amount.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it does the same basic principle as the Void Staff.
Yep, and it's also dirt cheap.
It is, yeah. It's also very inexpensive. Now, this is up for debate on which one you build, because you could also build Black Cleaver, and that also gives you armor penetration. But you don't want to build Black Cleaver for several reasons. We're not talking about Black Cleaver, but I feel like we'll probably talk about it next.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one gives you more armor penetration for yourself, while Black Cleaver is more of a for your team type of deal. Now, if you're looking for straight armor penetration for just yourself, like you would be if you're an 80 carry, this is the item you would build, because this is what you want. You want it for yourself. Suffice it to say, how many 80 carries do you know that are selfless? I don't know any.
Nope. If you are a selfless team player, then you shouldn't be playing 80 carry.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself. This is for 80 carries. This is for people that need to do attack damage by themselves. This is, if I don't have any champions on my team that are also doing 80 damage, then I build this item. And it works the exact same way as Void Staff. This is before armor, or before armor penetration. So if you have runes or any masteries, this is before all that. I'm sorry. It's just, there's got to be some downsides to fantastic items. You can't have them all be perfect.
It's true. Otherwise, they'd be busted, and people would always buy them, and then Riot would nerf them more.
Yeah, but still a good item.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the bread and butters of 80 carries is that item, especially if they're building armor against you. Now, if they're not building armor against you, then you probably shouldn't need to worry about it too much. But, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Black Cleaver.
Black Cleaver, I would say, is a little more of a kind of bruisery item. Someone who's going to be maybe mixing it up more with his team around him, like you mentioned, because it does reduce armor globally instead of just for them.
Yeah.
Also, the thing I do like on Black Cleaver is it does give you some cooldown reduction, 10%.
Yeah, see, that little bit is pretty awesome. On top of the Brutalizer is an awesome item because it costs 1,337 gold. For those of you that aren't nerds or are female, you'll understand that means leet. And that's just kind of a tribute to nerds all around.
Although we should probably say there's a lot of lady nerds out there. So
there are, yeah. I mean, I don't want to judge, and I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, it's definitely a guy thing. Leet.
Judge.
We laugh at it and we love it. Black Cleaver is one of those items that I have to feel really justified in buying it. Like, there's got to be several reasons why I'm buying this item. Because it has a brother. The Brutalizer brother is Yumumu's Ghostblade. So Black Cleaver is something you buy when you know that a lot of your team is going to do a lot of attack damage. Now, this is a bruiser item, like you said. And I would only recommend buying this if you have at least 2 other people that are going to be doing attack damage. This is not an item to build for just your 80 carry. Like, that 80 carry can build a Last Whisper. You're kind of wasting your money when you build a Black Cleaver for just yourself and the 80 carry. Like, I just don't think that that's justifiable. Now, if you have a Zed in the mid lane and you're playing Riven up top, then yeah, Black Cleaver, looking good. If you're playing Kha'Zix in the jungle and you got a Riven up top 80 carry, then yeah, build your Black Cleaver. But for the most part, unless you have 2 buddies that are also AD, don't get it. Don't worry about it. Get your Yumumus, get your Last Whisper, whatever. Don't worry about this item. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a good item. I'm sorry, I'm starving and I have class in an hour. So I'm trying to eat and class at the same time. But it's still a good item. Don't say I don't think it is. Just know when you need to buy it. And since I mentioned it, we should talk about Yumumus real quick.
Why not? Let's do it.
Yumumus is an awesome item because it gives you a lot of armor penetration. It gives you 20.
I should say, not to interrupt, but you're adding an extra M. It's Yumus.
Oh, I call it Yumumus.
Yumomimos?
I call it Yumumus because of Mumu.
A Mumu? But don't buy Yumumus on a Mumu.
No, that'd be weird.
That would be weird.
This item gives you pretty much everything you could possibly want as an AD auto attacker with some casts. Not an AD carry.
No.
Because a lot of AD carries don't need cooldown reduction. In fact, most AD carries don't need cooldown reduction. This is an item you build on Yi. This is an item you build on Yasuo, Riven, those types of champions. Maybe not so much Riven, because Crit Strike isn't really a Riven stat. But, I mean, it still is good.
Yeah.
It's a good item. Gives you attack damage, gives you Crit Strike, gives you cooldown reduction. Your unique active gives you 20% movement speed and 40% attack speed. That's pretty nuts. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's why someone with a lot of crit like Yasuo, this is such a great item for. But again, if you don't use the active, you're missing out on it. So that's something you got to remember. Or Zed, like when you ult onto someone, you trigger that, doing a whole bunch of damage, and then once that death mark procs, boom, they explode.
Yeah. Do note that this is an amazing item to be paired with Blade of the Ruined King, because that attack speed is nuts.
Yeah.
So if you've ever been jumped by a Yi that uses a Mumus and Blade of the Ruined King on you, the reason they killed you so fast is because holy shit attack speed.
Yeah. You would have been just as effective going AFK if they get on you.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, you didn't need to blow your flash. You're not getting away from that guy anyway. So, Yumumus, good item. Good stuff there. Zhonya's? Liandry's, because we're talking about penetration.
Should we save that one for next week? Because it's a little bit longer.
You're wanting to dip. I can
Here's
tell.
Here's the thing.
What's up?
I haven't eaten supper yet.
All right, I hear you.
At my time, it is 8:53.
That is fair.
Angry.
That is fair. All right. We'll cut this one loose, and we will pick this back up next week. Sound good?
That sounds perfect.
All right, guys. So again, if you have any questions, you want to know anything, we are going to be finishing this item talk next week. After that, I think we're going to be talking about runes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, runes. So we'll finish up items next week. Stay tuned for that one. We're going to talk about Static Shiv against Phantom Dancer. We're going to be talking about Tear of the Goddess and what that actually is. We'll bring up Liandry's. We'll bring up Zhonya's, Thornmail, Trinity Force, Aegis, all those good stuff. All the other big items.
And we'll get into more of the situational type items like your Hex Tech Gunblade and why you should always buy that on a collie and so forth.
Yeah. So good stuff right there. Feel free to email us, though, if you have any specific questions on anything. That's battlearena@trainingforcepodcast.com. It's up there on your screen. Feel free to check out trainingforcepodcast.com for all of your info regarding T-Force. Our Twitter handles, @Asderition,
At Doc_Chicken.
Doc_Chicken. Yeah, so feel free to talk to us anytime you want. You want to plug your October thingy?
Yes, October 25th is coming, and on October 25th, I will be participating in Extra Life, in which I will be playing video games for 24 hours to raise money for sick kids' hospitals. So if you can throw me a couple bucks, $1, $5, $1,000, anything is appreciated. And I'll be streaming it, so you'll be able to join me and make fun of me as I hate my life around hours 17 or so.
Oh, it'll be a lot. But I've streamed for 8 hours. I streamed for 10 hours, and by hour 4, I was wanting to kill myself.
It's terrible. I did it last year, and like the last 6 hours or so, I was so miserable. But it's for the kids, man. So
It's for the kids.
So yeah, there's the link in the Twitch chat, and I'll be putting it in the description of the YouTube video. So yeah.
And for those of you that are planning on going to Summoners Con, if you actually choose to do that, I don't know how many of you new players are planning to do that, but it is in Burbank. It's coming up on November 1st. I'm going to be there. We have an outstanding agreement that if you see me, I'll have a flag. I may be wearing a T4 shirt, not sure yet. I'll be standing with my buddy who's going to be dressed as Twisted Fate and my other friend that's going to be dressed as Lulu. So if you see me, you're supposed to come up and punch me in the dick. So go ahead and do that. Then offer to buy me a drink because you kind of just punched me in the dick.
Yeah. Like, I mean, definitely punch him because it's hilarious, but also definitely buy him a drink. Like, come on. You just punched him.
And if you want to talk League, I mean, obviously that's the place to go. But if you want to talk League with me, I will be there. Really stoked to go. Really excited about that. Yeah.
Wait, didn't you say, I'm pretty sure you said you were promising you were going to cosplay as Janna, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I did say that. And as the new Janna, too. I'm going as the new Janna. So I'm going to have, like, I'm going to shave really nice. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way to kind of like thin my chin a little because she's kind of got, like, a really straight chin. And I'm going to be wearing some really weird lingerie. So if you want to see that as well, feel free to call CPS.
I wish I hadn't said that because now the mental image has popped into my head and I'm really regretting bringing this up.
I didn't shave my legs, just my face. All right, guys, that's it for today. Feel free to join us next week, and we'll finish this awesome talk. Thanks, guys.
Bye.